Hi y'all. Today I thought I'd do a little video review on a piece of equipment that I've got, and I've been meaning to show y'all for a long time. It's pretty cool. It's one of my favorite things, and it's kind of like a little bit of backpacking history, really. And this is an old Kelty, and of course this external frame, and this is just cool. Let me give you a little history first. And I'm not a Kelty expert by any means, don't get me wrong. But Dick Kelty, way back in the beginning, did welding for Lockheed Aircraft back during World War II, in that time period. And he welded aluminum, what they called aircraft aluminum. And after World War II, being an avid hiker and a backpacker, he decided to start trying to make backpacks himself. So what Dick did was, in his own garage, he started welding aircraft aluminum frames for backpacking. And he had a basic backpacking frame. He had what he called a mountaineering frame, and this one happens to be the mountaineering frame. You can tell because it's got 5 cross members and it's got this V up here at the top. His wife would make the backpacks for him. And by the time 1956 rolled around, they had gotten so popular, they wound up renting or buying an old barber shop and used that for their very first factory and their first store. Everybody knows Kelty. I'm not the original owner of this. This is so old, I would have been 11 or 12 years old when this was new. One of the cool things about this, the man that originally owned this, he used this hiking in the White Mountains, section hiking on the AT way back in the day. He did the Vermont Long Trail. I don't know what all he did with this pack. It's just really cool how much history is in this whole thing. I bought this pack from his daughter. And on this old pack, it was changeable. That was their options. You could take this pack and move it lower on the frame, stack a sleeping bag and tent on the top. You could move it up. You could store your sleeping bag, tent on the bottom, just however is most comfortable for you. Now this old pack, I'm not really sure, because I'm not an expert. Maybe somebody out there knows more than I do. If you do weigh in on it, leave a comment. I think this was what they called a Model A pack. They just had a bag on the top. But there's an option where you could have bags sewn in. I'll show you this. I don't know if you can read this clearly, but there it says additional bags are available for $3. Now the reason I think this is a Model A that had the second bag on the bottom sewn in on both sides is because if you look on the inside of it, see if I can get this over here where you can see it. Now you see on the inside, there's 2 compartments sewn in here. And that was typical of the Model A. Now from what I've been able to find, the Model A is the only one that had those compartments sewn in, which they thought was real innovative at the time, but come to find out people didn't really like them because you had to be very specialized about how you put your equipment in. There was also a Model D4. Now I'm not sure when the D4 came out. It looked just like this pack, but I don't know if it had the dividers in the top. So like I said, maybe if somebody knows more about it, y'all could leave a comment and let me know about that. Anyway, this pack is just pristine. I mean, the threads on this thing are not even dirty. You can see the threads on this thing are just perfect. Look at the Kelty tag on here. It's perfectly clean. The threads are in perfect condition. Now, what this tag will tell us is that this bag was built between 1963 and 1968. Now, the reason I know it was built between 63 and 68 is on that tag, it says Glendale, California, and it has the zip code. Pre-63, they didn't have the zip code on it. 1968, they moved to Sun Valley, California. So that puts this bag somewhere between 63 in early 68. Now the lady I bought it from, the best she could remember was she thought her daddy bought this in 1968. So anyway, we're looking at almost 50 years old right here in pristine condition. The reason it's in pristine condition is because when he bought this pack and the mountaineering frame, which you buy separately and put it together however you want to, the first thing he did was took the pack off. This pack was actually never used. On the sides of the pack, they had this wire that ran the entire length through these pins. They call this a key wire. Now you pull this key wire out, and when you pull this out, then your pack will come off. And you can adjust this pack up and down however you want it. Now with the key wire removed, you can raise your pack up, you can lower it, whatever configuration you want. But anyway, he took the pack off. Now here's your mountaineering frame. And like I said, you can tell the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cross members, and it's got that signature V on the top. You can always tell it. You can see the large mountaineering frame cost $8.80 then. Your straps, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that Dick Kelty was one of the first ones to use padded straps. And it had kind of a canvas nylon type material fit across your back. So this is your mountaineering frame. A neat story about Dick Kelty is after World War II he became a carpenter, and he was still an avid hiker and backpacker. And him and a friend were hiking up in the Sierras, and they were using old military rucksacks at that time that had a wooden wishbone type frame in it. And all the weight at that time was still on your shoulders. As they were hiking up in the Sierras, Dick's friend told him, said, hey, he said, check this out. He had taken the end of that wooden bow where it stuck out the bottom of his pack and stuck it in his 2 back pockets. So the weight of his pack was in his back pockets, basically being on his waist instead of on his shoulders. And he's talking about how comfortable this is. So that got Dick Kelty's wheels turning. So what did he do? He was the first one to come up with the waist straps. Everybody's backpack's got waist straps on them now. And that's what it's for, is to take at least 50% or more of your pack weight and place that on your hips. So Dick Kelty was the very first one. Check out this buckle. It's just kind of a jaw type clamp. You pull the tension up on your strap, the teeth would hold it in place. You run it back through, there's your waist strap. Anyway, getting back to why the pack is so pristine. How many of you have heard of Gerry's? Now back in 1938, Gerry Cunningham was an avid hiker and a backpacker. And as a kid, he used to borrow his mother's sewing machine and make his own backpacks and stuff. And so he goes way back. Now, Gerry Cunningham and his wife, if I'm not mistaken, used to live up in New York. And they were making backpacks and stuff then. And theirs got so popular, they wound up moving to Boulder, Colorado back in the 50s. In 1958, they opened their first store, and it's been history ever since. Now, I know a lot of you probably never heard of the Gerry's. Today, Gerry's is a clothing line of outdoor stuff like down jackets, ski type equipment, clothes. But he was big into the backpacking way back in the day. So, here's an old Gerry's backpack. That old signature red. And this is old. Let me show you the tag on the back. So you can see the old Gerry's Boulder, Colorado tag that's sewn into the back of the backpack. And it's sewn in close to the top. You can tell this is old because of that. Most of the later stuff from Gerry's had a tag on the front of the pack. But anyway, the lady that I bought this from said that the best she could remember, her daddy said that this Gerry's backpack was a prototype to fit the Kelty frame. Now I can't verify that because Gerry's already made this type of a backpack with her own frame. So I don't know if the frames were interchangeable or if this truly was a prototype. But this was what Gerry called the CWD system, which was innovative for their time. It was compartmentalized weight distribution, meaning you had 4 different compartments here that you could store your equipment in. And you could be a little selective about where your weight went. So back in the day, man, I guess that was a cool deal. Another cool thing is that Gerry Cunningham was one of the first ones to ever use zippers on a backpack. So anyway, this is the pack that was used on the Kelty mountaineering frame all that time. Okay, so here's the configuration it was actually used in when her dad owned this pack. And like I said, you can see where this thing fits on this mountaineering frame perfectly. So like I said, I don't know. You know, this may have been just something that interchanged. It may have actually been a prototype. I'm thinking this is pretty rare, even if it wasn't a prototype, if it did interchange. I haven't seen a lot of these Gerry's backpacks around. There's some, but there's not many. I'm going to load this up and I'll put it on and show you what it looks like. Alright, here's the pack. And I've just kind of loaded it down with light stuff so you can just kind of get a glimpse of what it looks like. And you'd be surprised how comfortable this thing really is. So there you go. There's a Gerry's backpack on a Kelty frame. Whether it's made for it or not, I really couldn't tell you. But it's just kind of a cool thought. And it's just an awesome pack. And like I said, you'd be surprised how comfortable this is. Well, there you go. There's my little piece of nostalgia and my little piece of history when it comes to backpacking. And my favorite piece of gear. Just for the fact that in as good a shape as it's in, this thing is still about 50 years old. That's just cool to me if this thing's that good a shape, being almost 50 years old. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching that and listening to a little bit of history about backpacking. And if any of y'all got a piece of vintage equipment, something that's got to do with some backpacking history, maybe just a favorite piece of gear that you got, why don't you give everybody else a look at it? I know I enjoy looking at it. I'm sure a lot of other people would. So anyway, man, it's starting to rain. I'm out of here. Thanks for watching.